My name is Jason Anderson, principal of Jefferson High School, and I'm here to share with you something that is greatly impacting youth here in Bloomington, Minnesota, and across the nation. And that is the growing epidemic of e-cigarettes and vaping. As many of you know, vaping has become more and more common, but what you might not know is just how prevalent this problem is. Students are vaping at home, in parks, buses, at the mall, and in the school bathroom, and sometimes even in classrooms. These devices' masked appearance and the vapor's minimal scent make them easy to use and easy to hide. Because this is a relatively new phenomenon, there is not as much long-term data, but the early results are alarming. According to recent studies, vaping is the fastest growing dangerous behavior in over 40 years, with over 20% of high school students reporting use in the last year. And there is a huge correlation between vaping and regular cigarettes, with those who vape being 3 times more likely to start smoking traditional cigarettes. In addition to these risks, e-cigs are a great danger in and of themselves. When students use an e-cigarette, the results of the heating coils release toxic metals into the vapor, and there's no telling how exposure to those poisonous metals will negatively impact our kids in the long run. In addition to these toxic chemicals, almost all e-cigarette juice contains nicotine. While many young people believe they are smoking a harmless flavored liquid, in fact, the vast majority of e-cigarette liquid and pods contain a significant amount of nicotine. Sometimes so much so, where a small amount of liquid contains the same amount of nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes. Another frightening use of e-cigarettes is as a way to smoke marijuana, known as wax, dabs, oil, shatter, butter, or a variety of other names. And sometimes people use their e-cigarette device to smoke a highly concentrated form of marijuana. And no matter certain beliefs around marijuana use, both students and parents need to know just how illegal this form of marijuana is. Due to its highly concentrated form, marijuana wax, even in a very small amount, is a felony in the state of Minnesota. Along with significant legal consequences, both marijuana and nicotine can cause permanent damage to the developing brain. E-cigarettes come in all shapes and sizes. What I'd like to do now is show you the few of the most common examples that we find here in schools. One example is the pen-shaped e-cigarette. They're shaped like a pen, liquid goes in the top, and oftentimes there's a button that triggers the vaping action. Other common devices are smaller packs. Some have a button to operate it. Some do not. This one you just pull off the opening and that's what triggers the vaping action itself. Other common examples is this little guy, looks like a rubber eraser or maybe a makeup tool, but again, this is an e-cigarette. They even get so small as these little guys here that the user can use to smoke an e-cigarette. Think of how easy that is to hide and keep away from prying eyes. There's also these large battery-packed ones. These are a bit more obvious. E-cigarette liquid often comes in containers like this. It has, you can see the fruit label. This one's a sour flavor, but again, it's labeled as a fruity item. But again, almost all of these contain a significant amount of nicotine. Many students, many young people will pour this bottle into a more innocuous bottle like this, so it's not quite so obvious what it is. But looking for either one of these kinds of items will be a tell. The last one I want to show you is the most common e-cigarette in the country, the most common one that we find, and that's the Juul. The Juul is there's no button, the user pulls through the opening and that's what triggers the vaping action. They are pod-based, so each one of these pods is a full pack of cigarettes. And so the user will think of how easy this hide. This does not look obvious, this does not look like an obvious smoking device, and most of these are charged with a USB port. So if you think this plugged into your student's computer, would you know what this is? By masking their design and by offering a wide variety of fruity and candy flavored liquids, these companies are absolutely marketing towards our youth. And with many young people's propensity towards risky behavior, this is the perfect recipe for an epidemic. Schools throughout the nation are battling e-cigs and vaping, not just because they are a nuisance, but because they present real dangers to our kids who do not see the bigger picture of what's happening. We will continue to root it out at school and issue severe consequences for both use and possession. At home, please talk to your kids about what they've seen and the truth of these devices and these companies. The more knowledgeable we all are, the better we can tackle this problem together. Thank you.